Wems. I'm a breast cancer survivor. God healed me of cancer a couple of years back, and today I just want to share with you how God helped us through our fertility journey. While I was going through my cancer journey, the doctors wanted us to have a good chance of having kids when we're ready. So they froze our eggs, and they also mentioned they could run a genetics test on the embryos. So that way they transfer only clean embryos. I mean those without a genetic mutation. So when we're ready, we went to the hospital thinking it wouldn't take long, but we were shocked when they said it would take at least 18 months. And they also needed the blood of all of our parents to run the test. For context, my both parents are late. So at this point, my logical brain is calculating, what else can I offer in place of their blood? I tried to get the biopsy cells they took from my mom a couple of years back. I tried to get blood from a family member from my paternal side, but everything failed. And the doctors were like, there's nothing they can do. At this point, our backs were literally against the wall. And then the hospital called, they offered us counseling sessions saying we could try naturally. And if we're pregnant at 12 weeks, they would test the embryos. If there's a genetic mutation, we can choose to abort the baby or we can choose to keep it. But at the back of our minds, my husband and I just knew we were not ready, for that whole journey. And we just kept holding on to the promises of God that he would make a way, that this sickness ends here, that none of our unborn children would have it. And, that if God cannot do it, then let it be left undone. After some weeks, I got a call from the doctor and she said, well, I heard there may be a hospital in Belgium that can do the test just with the blood samples of the both of you. She wasn't sure what the process would be like, if insurance would cover, but she's like, I can find out more and make introductions if you want. At this point, we're like, even if it's small hope at the end of the tunnel, we'll take it. Please find out more.
Let's have it.
It was summer, it took a while, and eventually she came back and said, well, the hospital says they can do it. After a couple of months, we started the process with the hospital, blood test after blood test, appointment after appointment. But after a couple of months, the test was successfully done. Now to the fertilization process. The hospital in Belgium wanted to use fresh eggs. They mentioned it would yield better results. But because we had frozen eggs, the insurance refused and said they should use the frozen eggs first. At this point, the hospital said, well, we'll go ahead with the frozen eggs, but if the results are not great, you may have to try again. And you know how they try to cajole you, not cajole you, but give you hope. At this point, we're like, well, let them just use the frozen eggs. Even to transfer the eggs, it was a long process. Things that seemed easy were taking so long, and we were just frustrated. It was really a waiting game. But in the middle of it, we just kept asking God for strength for each day, trying to be joyful in the midst of it all. Eventually, we got a call to come in for the fertilization around my birthday last year. Talk about a perfect birthday gift. So we packed our bags just on that day, straight to Belgium with my husband. And, even with the frozen eggs, God gave us outstanding results. The doctors were surprised. And then they said, well, this is done now. We'll plan the transfer maybe around December. We were so happy because it was really a prayer point for us that year. We just wanted it done. But again, everything was dependent on my menstrual cycle. So they'll tell us to do scans here, take this drug here. And on one particular day, they asked me to take an injection that night. Normally, how it works is I will get a prescription from the doctor in Belgium and I will take it to my GP here. And my GP will give me a prescription to take to the pharmacy. That day, everything happened so last minute that I didn't get a prescription to go to the pharmacy here. I was already scared. I was already calculating, should we drive to Belgium that night, But as I was driving home, it was just strong in my spirit to go to the hospital here. So even though I knew logically, I don't have a prescription, who would answer me? I just followed the leading of God in my heart. When I got to the hospital, the pharmacist asked me for my prescription. And I was just babbling. And she's like, where's your prescription? And I just started crying. Eventually, she pulled me to the corner. I explained everything to her. And she said, well, show me the email from your GP. Show me the email from the doctor in Belgium. Sign here, sign there. You need to understand. Basically covering her bases. But God stepped in. She helped us. And she gave us that injection that night. Again, look at how God defies, the regular system just to help us. We took the injection. Everything went well. And we got a call to come in from the transfer a day before Christmas. Again, look at a perfect Christmas gift. We prayed and we committed everything into the hands of God, that let everything just be done. We wanted it to be done this time. I was, in my mind, we were just like, we're not going through this process again. Like, God, please just make it click. And then in 2 weeks, they asked us to run a blood test, and to the glory of God, they confirmed we were pregnant. Then the fear came all over again. And you know how your mind starts playing games with you? What if this happens? What if that happens? And again, this is because even before they did the transfer, they kept asking my oncologist for a green light. Can she carry a baby to full term? Is she okay? What if anything happens? And I remember on one of our trips back from Belgium, my husband and I spoke about this, and it almost felt like God was saying to us, don't make a decision out of fear. If I carried you all through your life, if I carried you through the cancer journey, if I've been with you all these years, can't you trust me with these 9 months? It was almost like, this is like another test to trust God. And it's one of those things where you feel like if you don't do it this time, you will still meet it in front. And so my husband and I decided to trust God through it all. Whenever the fear came, we'll remind ourselves that the blessings of the Lord make it rich and He adds no sorrow, that I would not be sick, that God will bless us, He would keep our baby. And let me tell you, I enjoyed my pregnancy. In eating, I ate. I wasn't sick. I wasn't throwing up. None of those pregnancy symptoms happened to me. Like, God literally made it blissful for me. Even when I had a bike accident in my first trimester, like a car literally hit me off my bike and I flew off to the floor. But God kept our baby. Did I enjoy? Yes. But that baby, God kept our child. When it was time to deliver, I was induced because the doctor had said, they would not wait over the EDD because I was taking, drugs for my blood pressure. Even the whole process, it was a long journey. But after we had our baby, she wasn't crying, she wasn't breathing, and then the doctors rushed in to do the whole CPR thing, basically just to help her. All of a sudden, I started feeling faint. I remember telling my husband and my cousin, I can't see. Where are you guys? I can't hear anything. And more doctors rushed in. Next thing I hear was prepare the theater. She's lost a lot of blood. And they rushed me in, did everything they could to stop the blood because they couldn't understand why I was losing that much blood. Just for context, I was losing close to 3 liters of blood. Even for CS, you lose about 1.5 liters. And this was a vaginal birth. So they didn't understand how I'm losing close to 60% of the blood in my body. Like, that could have easily caused an organ failure if they didn't, arrest it quickly. Again, God stepped in. God kept me. God kept our daughter. God has blessed our family with a baby girl today. And like my husband will say, God didn't promise us that the road will be smooth. But what He said is He will always be with us through it. I hope this encourages you that God never fails, that He's a faithful God, He's Obalashikbe, and that whatever He said He will do it.